is your first CMX Connect. We're part of a huge organisation, but we just meet locally in London when we were allowed to do so. And now, obviously, we're meeting virtually. Debbie, if you could turn the slides for me, that would be great. We're using a new platform today, Bevy, who support the whole CMX connections. So apologies if we're fumbling our way through. I'm part of a team with Serena and Michelle, and we're all volunteers, and we just really hope to connect people that are interested in community management. And we have one session for an hour every month on the last Thursday of the month, and we really hope that people don't suffer or struggle on their own, because there's a huge community of community managers out there. Debbie, if you could go to the next one. Michelle, if you could put the link to the Slack channel, because I know there's a few people that are new today. We connect on Slack. You can ask questions. There's loads of other people on there from all around the world. And then we meet in this virtual format once a month. Our goal is hopefully that you'll meet someone awesome that you didn't know before today, that you learn something that's actionable. We're really keen on things that are easy to go away and implement. And then ultimately you become a real advocate, and we help to grow the whole community industry. So we hope to have time to break out into small groups and have a couple of small group discussions. When this was face to face, it was a lot easier. But I still, in the virtual world, hopefully you'll be able to have a conversation about what you've just heard from Debbie. So moving on to the next one. We're part of 60 chapters from around the world, and now because so many of the events are virtual, you can go and have a look and see what other conversations are happening, and feel free to join any of those. And then finally, when you go into the breakout rooms, it'd be great to have your camera on. Maybe now close any distracting applications so you can really focus on Debbie's content. Feel free to ask any questions or comments continually. Michelle and I will monitor that while Debbie's talking. And yeah, I hope you've got your favourite snack and drink ready, because we're about to begin. So, Debbie, let me hand over to you and your presentation. So Debbie and I feel like we've known each other for years, but we're not actually been that long. But we've been working with very similar communities and experiences. And what I found very interesting from talking to her in the last few months is she's built all of that into a brand new community. So she's going to share with you her top tips from launching a community in these crazy times. So I'm so thrilled that Debbie could join us today and has prepared this with us. She's got a wealth of experience from being a community manager at Scope and all sorts of things. So I'll let her share that with you. If you want to share your slides, Debbie, and then I'll hand over to you.
Okay, thank you very much.
She's looking lovely in turquoise today as well.
I've got to do something to brighten up
the
world. Right. Okay.
Now, I got involved with APM, I have to say this, sort of 12 months before Debbie got on board. And they were considering doing a community. And I was like, you need to hire a community manager. Like, this isn't going to fly without a dedicated resource. So I was thrilled when Debbie was appointed. So over to you, Debbie. Take it away.
Lovely. Thank you very much. Hopefully you can all see the slides okay. And so I'll jump straight into what I'm about. So a little bit about me. I have been a community manager for probably last 16 years. About 15 of those was as part of managing editor and community manager for nursery and parenting websites, where I had a huge audience on the community of 400,000 expectant parents. So it was a very, very busy and vibrant community, and we never ran out of people that wanted to join, because people were always getting pregnant. So it was always evolving and growing. Most recently Scope, and now earlier this year I joined APM to launch their brand new community. So this is actually a first brand new launch, if you like, that I've done. The other roles I've sort of taken over and sort of helped grow the audience. So for instance, at Scope, when I joined Scope, they had, I think it was around 15,000 members, and within 6 to 8 months we'd doubled it, and now I think it's probably more than 30,000 now, but obviously I'm not there to know their figures. So I've done quite a lot of media work in the past, and been judges and done radio and TV and lots of sort of interesting things like that. So very varied background, but all about connecting and communicating with people. So let's move on to the hub. Right, so the Online Community Hub is a member benefit. So unless you are a member of APM, you won't get access to this hub. So it's not open to the general public. You have to be a registered member and come in. APM wanted to have a place where people could talk project management, all aspects of project management, from students all the way up to honorary fellows. So you have this wide range of experienced people on networking and engaging, and it is their space. So what happened? I joined in January. They'd already done a few of the steps. So what I've done is I've sort of did a sort of guide to launch. Now, I actually had to present this for my second interview to get the job. So I presented to them what I thought we would need to do to establish and launch a community. So probably nothing here that you don't already know as experienced community managers, but I just felt it was quite nice as a visual to be able to speak to somebody who doesn't know about community management or how to launch a brand new community. And it's very important that, step one, why? You've really got to ask that question. Why do you want a community? What is it going to bring for you? Because just because you can create community doesn't mean you should. I think sometimes the reason why you build a community can get lost very easily is to have a really, really clear idea of why you want a community to be launched. Step two, clearly, you need to reach your audience and know the audience and what they want. And what they want will change as well. I found over the years that sometimes you present something, they start using it, and then actually, within a few months, it's completely changed. And I have definitely seen that on the APM Hub. Although the research was done prior to my arrival, I did obviously get up to speed with what was being asked for. And I produced and created a hub that they said they wanted, but actually now, 6 months on, we've just done a 6-month review, and there's a few things there that they didn't know that they wanted until they've now got it. So it is important to do that research. Clearly, solutions, choosing the right platform for your community. So we're actually using HiveBright, who have been absolutely great, and I wasn't involved in picking the software provider, but they've been great. They're really great people to work with. But obviously, it's as good. It's important to have a good relationship with your provider as it is with anybody else in your audience. So you have obviously got all your different audiences. The next area is probably very connected, really. Step 4 and step 5. Think about your layout, but that sort of is dictated a little bit by your content and what content you want. So, create that sort of together, and expect that to evolve and change. And then, obviously, before you get your members and going live, do keep talking to step 2. Do keep talking to your audience and establishing what you want. We did quite a lot of testing with the platform. So I built it, I presented it in a format that I thought would like, but I tested it with the staff, I tested it with the volunteers at APM, and I also tested it with the actual members. So we had a select group. So everybody, key audience wise, was approached. And step 7, obviously legal and data, do make sure you've got your moderation policies agreed, your terms of use, any support documentation and things like that. And then finally, before launch is, just check that your reporting and metrics are in place. It's really key to having a successful community, especially from launch. I had nothing to benchmark against. So, was when we launched, was it a good response? Were people interacting? Where were they interacting? What areas of the hub did they like? And I know, so next year is going to be quite exciting because I'll have something to compare it to. But when you're launching a brand new community, you can only go on prior experience, but every community is unique and different.
I've got a question for you. If it's a good time to pause. Before you go through it, Oliver's asked that he felt that companies that he's met view growth as a key metric. He wondered what your view was on growing the community versus focusing on the members that you have. So have you been given strong growth targets, or have you been told to sort of harness the relationships with the ones that you knew?
Well, actually, it's a bit of both. I think the thing is, growth is really important, but understanding that the growth will come if you're providing something that people want to use. If you can set a target and say, right, by next March, we need 3,000 active accounts, as an example, but actually you only get 100.
Yeah.
If those 100 are really engaged and really, really busy, then I would say that's of greater value than just saying we've got 3,000 activated accounts, because just because they've activated and they've logged in once doesn't mean that they're engaging. So the metrics are really, really, really challenging. I have guided APM a little bit on to saying, look, really, really, in terms of 30,000 plus members, if we had 10% of them on the community and being really active, I think that is a really good success criteria. But to have 30,000 on there, but nobody talking isn't good.
Yeah.
But it looks great to have a good number of people, but to me, it's more important that they're engaged and connecting with you.
Yeah, no, great. Brilliant. Thank you.
Is that all right? I hope that's answered his question. Okay. Obviously, just before launch, it's these are obvious, I'm sure, but they're a little bit like, do make sure your platform's bug-free as much as it can be, and it's intuitive. And if not, then make those adjustments. Your first impression is really important. Having enough content, because obviously with launching a brand new platform, there won't be anything in there because nobody's been in there before. So we were keen to have sort of blogs and bits of content that were familiar to the audience, but not actually creating the actual conversation, because I'm a great believer, and I do push this a lot, is that it's a peer-to-peer environment. It's not my place to start all the questions. I'm there to facilitate and give them the platform to do that. So they've got to, but you need to feed them and seed them and show people how to do that. And I think there's an element of sentiment as well. As time goes on, the personalities of the people on your platform will come out, but you haven't got that at launch. You haven't got any of that sentiment there. So when people do visit your very empty platform to begin with, it's like, well, how do people ask questions on here? What sort of questions are they being asked? And it's just sort of just ask yourself these questions and think how you would feel going into a brand new community and what you would like before you press that button to launch. So what did we do at APM? So as I said earlier, it's a very key value membership benefit. So obviously, as a member of APM, you pay a fee to get lots of benefits, and there is lots. This hub is just one of a number of digital offerings, but the hub is very much about supporting all the members in whatever they want to talk about in terms of project management. But it was really key for me before it was launched, and I came in, as I say, quite near the end of the whole overall project, probably thanks to Nancy offering and suggesting they get an online community manager. So it was really key to get a support team within the staff. I needed to get the staff engaged and excited about it. You want them all to want to be on there. And I think I managed to do that at APM. A lot of people were really key when we asked for volunteers to test it and to be a part of it. Everyone was really engaged, which was really quite exciting, actually, because I think a lot of communities can struggle with making people understand what they're really all about. The other key audience was I had to get the members engaged. So it was really important that we engaged with our marketing team quite closely, that the campaign launch was, planned in properly and in place. But actually understanding that actually once that launch campaign's done, that isn't it. People don't know about your hub unless you keep telling them. So you do feel like, oh God, I'm a repeated record. I'm saying the same thing over and over. But you have to keep pushing it out there, because you want people to come in and talk about it. And it's sort of, yes, because it's a private sort of member only basis. I can't get the general public engaged. I can only get the members engaged, but the only source I've got is a very public one. So because of people have different marketing preferences, we had some people say, oh, we didn't know anything about the hub, but they weren't able to be sent an email. So do take that into account when you're launching. It's things like marketing preferences. Is there a legitimate reason for you to let them know, and also to encourage them? So it's an informative message, as well as getting them to actually call to action and get them into the hub. So this is my sort of checklist that I put together for our launch. Obviously, we had a beta test site. We had a sandbox environment where everything was tested and played within before we went actually live. And we made sure that all the access members worked. Test again. Sometimes you can feel it's a bit of an overkill, but actually I did break the testing down to staff, volunteers, and members, and then I collected all of that together. Obviously now would have to be remote testing, and we did do some remote testing because some people, like in particular volunteers, were all over the country, so we asked them all to log in on their own machines, and it was quite good from that point of view. We also had group workshops in the office where I think I had 20 people in a meeting room at one point, and we were all going through, like, I'd like you to do this, I'd like you to do that, and it did flag up a number of technical things which we hadn't considered, which is really good and worth doing. Obviously, do check your legal status, your GDPR, privacy settings. Just make sure all of those work and are in place. I work quite closely with our branding team. Although the environment is very peer-to-peer and members can post and share what they like within the community, we still had to be a branded environment because it is APM's community for its members. So the sentiment of the brand and the sort of the warmness of the brand was very important there. Do look at your engagement gamification. I haven't actually instigated all of mine yet, partly because we are quite new still. So, but it is there and it is waiting to go, but it's going to be something that I will roll out shortly. Once people have got used to the system, how it's working, then I'll say, well, actually, did you know you can start to earn badges and things like that? So it just starts to prolong and keep that momentum going in terms of engagement. We have actively recruited community champions in the last few weeks, had a really good success rate. I've got lots of people keen to be a community champion, and they are great because it starts to seed conversations, and they're all people that are really behind the hub and engaging. And we did have a few perhaps internally doing that, but now it's external people that are members, which is really great. And obviously set up all your automatic emails and communications, make sure that they're good, engaging, and warm, and encouraging people to come back. And moderation processes. I had this a lot on Scope in particular because that was a public forum. Anybody could sign up for that. So terms of use and code of conduct was really important because we did unfortunately get some maybe not less desirable people on there, and we need to have a really good moderation process. I have got a moderation process for APM. I haven't had to use it anywhere near as much as I would on Scope, but it's not public, so we know who these people are. And I've also done a sentiment guide that everyone can read, and it's very much a little bit about think about what you're saying, how you're writing. Just because you might be slightly agitated or frustrated about a topic that you're writing about, that may come across in your language. and for other members when they're reading it, think about where you are as well. So if you're in a bad mood or something, you will read something differently to when you're in a good mood and upbeat. So have that sort of sentiment guide just to try and help members, because we are only using the written word in a community. A lot of the signals are missed. So some of my tips before launch: definitely collect and create some seed content and have people on board ready to start the conversation and discussions. Really test your login process. We did have a hiccup because of Internet Explorer, and that did make the initial login for some people quite challenging. So that's certainly a lesson learned for me. Really test that login process. Ensure you have your support on the day. So the day that you're going to actually launch, actually make people really aware within your team, within the staff, just so you've got a few more eyes and ears around, and get them on board just to make sure it also doesn't clash with any other major events in the organisation, because this is a big thing, launching your community. And then create all your emails and comms ready to go. So it's all pre-prepared, and you just got to push the button, and no last minute panics. Obviously, launch day, we definitely avoided a Monday or a Friday. We actually went live on Tuesday, but we're all sort of so we had a few days, and it wasn't beginning or end of the week. We had the support team available. We also have a customer service support at APM called Service Innovation. And the team there were fully aware of when we were launching, because if people did phone in, they were prepped and ready to go with, well, this is how you fix this problem. Or they contacted me and I gave them the solution. But it seemed hopefully a seamless process in terms of supporting members who were trying to get on. Because that initial, we're launched, everybody wanted to come in and have a look. We can't fix everything immediately. So just be aware that, you might have to fix something, but just keep members informed. They don't mind you've got to fix things as long as they know that you're dealing with it, and keep that communication channel going. So what impacts did I particularly have? So as I said, I joined in January with a launch date of 31st of March. We actually launched on the 27th of April, partly because of the impact of COVID, that obviously from the 17th of March, all the APM staff, and that includes all the team that I was working with, we all had to suddenly move from home. So there was this manic, oh my God, we're all in lockdown. We're going to work from home, and it's all virtual. And it did throw us all up in the air. But we did adjust really quickly. We had a single sign-on API that had to be applied before we could actually launch. The hub was ready, but the single sign-on, due to COVID, it did sort of throw out a few things on the IT front, because there was the priorities for other things to be done. So we got pushed back a little bit on that. But generally, that did work, but it was all virtual and online. So we had daily meetings with about 20 people all on the call, giving their updates about where they were across the business. As I said earlier, we did find Internet Explorer did stop some of the functionality on our platform. Now we had picked up there was going to be an issue with this, but it was trying to communicate that message, particularly to some members who had no choice in their browser because of their working environments. So we had to sort of get around that and try and get people to log in a different way. The other issue we had was a bit of communication fatigue. Everybody seemed to be launching a community at the same time. I think it was certainly regenerating a community that maybe was not as busy. It was a great opportunity for people to focus in. So we did have a little bit of competition in that area, and not just externally, but within our own team. Everybody was suddenly educating their children at home, concerns about what was going on in life. So that did have a bit of an impact. And as I say, everyone seemed to be launching a community. I was like, oh, they're all nicking my limelight. But we did it and we were okay. But the positives were that actually the timing was good because everybody suddenly went virtual. It certainly made the project team at APM think outside the box about how we could certainly change some solutions, which was really good. And I think in terms of working with colleagues and external clients that were supporting us, there was a real respect and sort of compassion about, yeah, we understand you're in difficult circumstances. So it did make it a little bit easier. So where am I going now? My next areas to build the community is working with lots of different areas of APM. So we have APM Learning, which is learning modules for our members. We have a careers area. We have specific interest groups all around project management, branches, qualifications. There's lots of areas that we will start to develop and work with on the community. We are looking at video creation and video on the hub. Engagement awards will come. So, excuse me. There will be continued recruitment of community champions because they're volunteers. It's as little or as much time as they can offer. So I need a large number of them to support me. We're looking at podcasts, exclusive content as well, that because there are certain things of information that we would like to keep just for our members. So there will be exclusive content in there. We have some big within APM, and we will be looking at mentoring and sharing of publication, things like that. So there's quite a lot to come on the hub. At the moment, it's building momentum and building. And that is me. I don't know if you've got any questions, but thank you for listening. I hope you found some of this useful, and I'm over to you.
Yay, that was awesome. You've had some very nice supportive comments, a great template for us to follow from Robin. Ollie saying this is really help, practical advice and tips. I've got a question from Ollie before we break out and have a short discussion in our breakout groups, was how are you prioritizing and managing a pipeline of future activities and use cases? How are you building what you're going to do next? How's that decision process working?
Well, it's sort of really working within the bigger strategy of APM. So what's happening is very much the community is a support environment for the whole of the membership. So obviously membership hits anyone from qualifications to the events, research. So all of that is sort of tied in. So every time something new is coming up, I sort of jump in and say, right, how can the hub be a part of that? And it isn't the same every time. I mean, next week, as an example, next week we've got International Project Management Day on Thursday. So I suggested to the communications manager that we did something each day that is related to international project management, how that works on the hub. So we will sort of see that sort of conversation and use our community champions to do that. So there is a content plan. I do have something to establish each week, what we're going to focus on. But a lot of it is tied in with the bigger strategy. Hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah, I'll check in with Ollie if that did. But I think you are very much involved. If anything's going on, it's very much they consider you and the community in that, or you're a part of the conversations, which sadly doesn't always happen in lots of organisations. So you've done well, Debbie, to be there and a critical partner for everybody. Michelle is asking, what do you think has been the biggest change from your new community than where you were 4 months ago? Have I read that right now? What do you think has been the biggest change from what your new community needed now from 4 months ago?
Right. I think the biggest change is where to post, because what I came in was they all wanted particular areas, groups to talk about particular subjects. And then you've got the forum as well. So we've got this forum environment that seems to have taken off, which I didn't think would. I thought the groups would. So in terms of where we were 6 months ago, a lot of things were being pushed, go to the group. But actually the members have said, no, we don't want to work in the group. We want everyone to see what we're talking about. So everyone's now in this sort of the hub. And it is, they're posting a question and then getting lots of answers on it. So I think that there's more global feel to the hub than before. I think, trying to put them into groups, they're sort of kicking back a little bit and saying, no, we don't want that. We want everyone to be involved and
part of everything.
Yeah, so I think that's probably the biggest change. So what's that? The impact that's having on the structure is quite significant. So I will be doing some changes in the next few weeks, because we did a 6-month review survey that we asked members just to have a look at it. And really positive, great feedback generally, but there did come this sort of, well, we're not quite sure where to post, but we like the forum as a preference. And there may be a need to retitle and relook at some of the hub subject matters, because I think sometimes you post, so for instance, I did a coffee lounge hub, because on the parenting websites and on Scope, people really like the coffee hub. They like the more light-hearted,
informal,
a bit more informal. Whereas that is not it's not of interest in. I'm not saying they don't want to have a chat about things, but I would say it's quite a serious environment, and very
professional networking, isn't it?
It's very professional, and it's they've got other social media platforms if they want to be a little bit fluffy and frivolous. But if your community is fluffy and frivolous, then a coffee lounge would probably be a great place to be. But that hasn't quite worked. But then that's where I'm learning as well, because obviously I've come from, especially on the parenting websites. I mean, there was a very serious side, but actually there was also a very fun side. Let's have a laugh and a bit of humour, because parenting, as we all know, probably for your parents, is not an easy challenge. It's really very much about building it around what the members want.
And that you kind of answered Robin's question, was what are your plans for managing the geography? Different chapters, different places for different parts of the world, but it sounds like you're moving away from giving local areas specific places to post and keeping it more general and global. Is that?
Yeah, I think it's quite interesting, because we do have an international project management hub group, but it's not been used. But there are people internationally that are posting in the hub forum. So I think it's interesting geographically that project managers like talking globally. They like the subject and to reach a really wide audience. So
that's their motivation, isn't it? So they're getting their needs met through the channel. Great. I'm sure there's more, but why don't we break out into some breakout rooms just for 10 minutes? Just say hi, who you are, what you do, and either carry on discussing what you've just heard or share your experiences of a launch or a new community. I think everyone will benefit, and then we'll come back 10 minutes before the end and hear what you discuss. So I hope this works, and I hope you meet some interesting people. And thank you, Debbie, and we'll see you all in 10 minutes. See how this works. Fingers crossed. Oh, now it's done. Oh, so now it's doing it. So we're not in a room. Shall we join one? I'm going to join room 1. You can.